if everything looks good while we are confirming everything is functioning properly. Head over to pokercoaching.com/Black Friday giveaway. We're giving away $1,000 in cash. Somebody's just going to get in the money. So you might as well be you. Head over to pokercoaching.com/Black Friday giveaway. We're seeing some people trickling in. Hello. I just returned from Vegas. I'm not allowed to say how it went. You can read my facial expression for how well we think it went. It was a lot of fun though. I'm going to be on 2 episodes of Poker After Dark. That'll be being released in December. We had a poker coaching sit and go, $5,000 buy-in sit and go, featuring me, James Romero, Matt Affleck, Faraz Jaka, Brad Owen, and Justin Saliba. And it was a lot of fun. It's a great time. Okay, so it seems like this is all working. Make sure you go get into this giveaway. You might as well. We're giving away $1,000 for Black Friday, $1,000 cash, not coupons, nothing like that. Just straight up cash. What's the most gangsta thing you've ever done? We're giving away $1,000 cash right now. There you go, take it. Someone's gonna get it. All right, today we are gonna be going through a bunch of spots, highlighting key takeaways from some poker coaching members' hand histories. I've been through a bunch of these over the last month or so. And essentially there were a few hands that I think point out errors people make on a regular basis that if you fix these mistakes, you'll just make substantially more money from poker. So let's go through these hands. Here we have King 8 suited. Can you see it? You see the King 8 suited? Good. We see the King 8 suited. Okay, King 8 suited, we raise it up perfectly fine and standard. Big blind calls. King 10-7, they check. We're going to continuation bet. We have the best hand basically every time. They call, fine, so far so good. Turns an 8, they check. We're going to value bet again. Usually pretty big, right? Make a nice, solid, big value bet here. We could even perhaps go a little bit bigger. Like if you told me you wanted to go 26, I think that's probably fine because this board's very coordinated. If you wanted to go 38, it's probably okay if your opponent's a bit of a calling station. That said, a lot of people start to knit it up a little bit whenever the pot becomes, or when you start making like over bets, right? So I don't think we necessarily need to be betting too big. But anyway, this is a spot where we are going to bet. We do get called. River is the 4 of diamonds. And the opponent bets $100. We're playing 1-2 no limit, facing a lead on the river. How do you all feel about this? Type it in the chat. Let me know. Are we ever afraid of the Jack-9 here? No. Your opponent could have Jack-9, but quite often they would have raised with Jack-9. And also, like, the odds of them having exactly Jack-9 are so low. We beat 10-8, 10-7, King-Queen, King-Jack, King-9. We beat all sorts of stuff. So we're not really afraid of a hand like Jack-9 in the spot. All right, seems like everybody in the chat saying fold. Yeah, I think it's actually a pretty easy fold. This is a spot where when your opponent takes this overly aggressive line, I think you need to find a fold in a 1-2 no limit game. Because most people in a 1-2 no limit cash game, not a tough online game, this is a live soft poker game against a straightforward player. Against players like this, you probably need to find a fold. Lots of people here saying, like, could your opponent have, insert any hand here? Could they have King-9 and turn it into a bluff? No, what are you talking about? We're playing 1-2 no limit against random recreational players. Would they bluff a Queen-Jack? Like, that's the only hand that makes any logical sense to try to bluff with. Maybe if you have a Queen of Diamonds with it. But, like, people don't do it. I'm telling you, they don't do it. Also, recognize that I would play many flush draws in exactly this same manner, right? Like, say I had Ace X of Diamonds or Queen X of Diamonds or whatever. We would bet the flop, we would bluff the turn for sure, and we're sitting here with a flush, right? So this is a spot where unless your opponent's just like the worst overvaluing player in the world, where they're going to think a hand like 7-4 is the nuts, Like, this is just an easy fold. Like, trivially easy fold. I don't know, do we get to see what they had here? Doesn't matter. Just an easy fold. I think it's important to realize, remember, they check called the flop, check called the turn, donk led the river. You're going to find that for the most part, this is just a good hand in small and medium stakes games against the vast majority of people. It's not a good way to play it necessarily, because remember, I can have all of the good flushes in my range too, but I don't. Also realize, I have all the good flushes in my range, so I'm supposed to be folding a decent amount of the time. Okay? So that's hand number one. A lot of people just call here every time and call it a cooler, but I think it is not a cooler, and I think that right there in small stakes games is a spot where you can save substantial money, where a lot of other people just don't. They just pay it every time. And to be fair, if you're playing against good, strong, aggressive opponents, you should be more inclined to pay it off, but that's not who we were against in that scenario. All right, here we raise ace-king. Big blind calls. People always ask me, how do you play ace-king when you miss? Well, like a marginal made hand, right? In this scenario, we have a hand that is very likely best if a little bit of money goes in the pot, but very unlikely to be the best hand if a lot of money goes in the pot. So, what should we do in this scenario? Well, we should probably try to see a somewhat cheap showdown. Now, I'm okay with betting the flop in this scenario if we wanted to make a $5 bet, because then we can still actually get called by a decent amount of worse hands. But check's perfectly fine. We have a hand that can very easily call a turn bet and somewhat easily call a river bet. We'd also play in this similar way with like under pairs, maybe stuff like ace-5 or 5-4. These are hands that if a little bit of money goes into the pot, we probably win, but if a lot goes into the pot, we probably lose. Check flop, opponent checks turn. Just keep checking. If we bet and get called, it's not great. If we bet and get raised, it's not great, but if we check it down, we win. Check. Opponent checks river, check. No reason to even try to put a thin value bet in. Don't get fancy. Check, we win. Notice here, the opponent very easily could have just check raised us on the turn too, right? If the opponent bet the river, we would have called. If they bet the turn and then bet the river, we probably end up folding because we have all of the under pairs in the 5, right? So this is a spot where we're checking behind stuff like ace, like decent ace high. We're using the weaker ace high as bluff, like ace 10 and worse as bluffs on the flop probably. So we're basically checking like ace queen to pocket 10s and maybe some bad jacks like jack 8 suited or jack 9 suited. Never folding the jack, never folding 5 or better. Folding the ace high on the river. Okay? What if this was a tournament? It doesn't matter. So many people think there's some giant difference between cash games and tournaments, but it's not. They're not that different of games. The main difference, well, obviously if you're playing different stack sizes, that's different, but if you're playing 100 big blinds deep in both these scenarios against the same player type, it's the same thing. The main difference is that you want to be a little bit less inclined to go for thin value bets, and you want to be more inclined to generally protect your stack, where you don't overfold, or you should be perhaps overfolding against big bets, because whenever you call and are wrong, you're out of the tournament and lose all potential future bluffing scenarios. Would you check behind or bet if he checked the river? I checked behind and we win. Check. Why are we betting? What's going to call us? Like maybe you think he's going to call us with some ace highs? We block ace high. It's not, just check it down. What if he bluffed a 9-8 on the river? We would call. I already said that. Make sure we try to listen a little bit. All right, on the river, when he checks, I check behind. If he bets the river, I said I would call with the ace high here because we beat lots of random hands that cannot win at the showdown, which should be a lot of the opponent's range. Check, etc. Everyone wants to bet thin for value. Like, you have to realize, whenever you're betting thin for value, you're hoping your opponent's just an extreme calling station. But realize, what does your hand look like? Your hand, my hand in this scenario, looks like some sort of very clear marginal made hand. If it's a very clear marginal made hand, then why would the opponent be doing a whole lot of calling? So anyway, very easy spot to check. Can he have a flush? No, it's not possible to have a flush. In order to have a flush, there must be three spades on the board, 2 spades in his hand. There's only 2 spades here. Okay? All right. Let's take a look at another hand. How do we play pocket jacks? Same people won't ask this question. How do we play pocket jacks? Well, first off, raise it up. Everybody calls. Flop comes. Queen, 8-5. Brutal. So, ask yourself, what do you do in this scenario? Well, this is a spot where if we bet and get called, or if we bet and get raised, we're going to be pretty unhappy. So I think the play here is to just check and see what develops. And depending on what develops, we're going to play accordingly. All right, check, check, bet 15, call 15. All right, what do we do now? The poker robot says throw out a feeler bet. The problem with a feeler bet is that your opponents are not going to give you accurate information. Again, if you're playing against really bad, really straightforward players, maybe you can do that. But when you're playing on a board like this, it's very easy for your opponents to have all sorts of draws that will always call, and they're always going to bluff you on the turn, or at least the majority of the time they will. They're going to call with an 8. They're going to call with a queen. You don't really know where you stand except for you're in generally bad shape. However, take a look at this. We didn't have to make a feeler bet, and we already know we're in pretty bad shape. They told us for free. Why would we rather lose $15 when we could find the information for free? I'd much rather find the information for free than for $15, right? It's okay to just check. Someone said, should we bet with everything on this flop? Absolutely not. You cannot bet into 3 other players on this board. Notice here, it's 3 other people. Someone is likely to have something. If it's not you, it's probably someone else. Someone says, what about representing the queen? Why would we want to try to use a hand that's almost as good as a queen to play it like a queen, but it's substantially weaker, when we also don't block any or many of the reasonable queens? The idea of I'm going to try to bluff this hand, like whenever you say I'm going to try to represent it, that is not how poker works. Whenever we bet or check, we are, representing a range of hands. So when you bet, you're representing a strong made hand or a strong draw. Both. You're not representing just one. You're representing a premium made hand and a draw. And when you check, you're representing mostly marginal made hands and junk, plus a few traps. So that's what you're representing. You're never just betting to try to represent a flush or to represent a top pair, right? Because you'd also play other hands that way if you're playing anywhere near decently. So anyway, easy fold. We bet the flop if this was heads up. Out of position, I would almost certainly check. You're going to find that underpairs very often like to check. I actually have a giant tournament course coming out very, very soon. That'll be released to all Poker Coaching Premium members, just completely included in the membership. And I go through hundreds of exercises where I analyze my entire ranges in scenarios like this. Does blocking the queen-jack matter? Not really. Like some, but not really. You have to realize, when you're against so many people, it's very, very easy to be beat in this scenario by even like a random 8-5. And the thing is in this scenario, if both these players somehow both have draws, we're still not in great shape. Like we're ahead, but we're not in great shape, right? So anyway, this is just an easy fold. Just fold. Check, fold. Do we check, call if under the gun folds? That would definitely be a little bit closer. Like say, in this scenario, say this player bets, this player folds. Yeah, I would probably stick around then, because then we're against one range instead of two, and also the player on the button is somewhat incentivized to bet decently wide compared to perhaps the other players. So I would call against the button, but it would definitely be a tougher spot. But anyway, as you can see, just get out of the way, and then just you don't have to play the pot. You don't have to play the pot. All right. If you all are here, if you're enjoying this, click the like button. I would appreciate it. Click the subscribe button. Whatever buttons you want to press. All right. Do we bet ace, king, or king, queen on the previous board? Listen, everyone. We're going to go through these hands kind of quick. Please try to stay on topic. If we're done with this hand, we got to move on. In this scenario, if we had king, queen, we would bet the flop. I would check queen, jack, and worse in this scenario. Check queen, jack, and worse. Don't plan on folding the queen, jack. Unless it goes like bet, raise. All right, let's see. Ace-10 offsuit. We raise it up. Get called. Flop comes. King, 10, 2. Opponent checks. What do you like in this scenario? Michael says you appreciate my sense of humor. Yay, good. Oh, you gotta have fun, This is a situation where we should be betting with a large portion of our range. However, if we are going to develop a checking range, It's definitely with the tens and with queens and jacks. Queens, jacks, and tens really love to check here because queens, jacks, and a 10 really do not need protection in this scenario. Because, like, what cards am I actually unhappy about on the turn? I really just don't want a queen or a jack to come. Or I guess a club is not great. Queen, jack, clubs are not great. But whatever, it's, 10 or 15, 20% of the deck. And, that's loud. And the thing is, whenever you bet and get called or bet and get raised, it's miserably bad. Also, when you let it go check, very often you get to induce bluffs, which is also great. Or overvalues. Your opponent may have jack 10 and think it's the nuts now. So, this is a spot where I think it's a pretty great hand to let it go check. As Cone says, if you bet here, then all your checks are weak. Well, look, if we bet this hand, if we bet this particular hand, we're basically saying that we are betting everything. And it's fine to bet everything. Like, if you told me you wanted to bet everything, sure. Because we do have a bit of a range advantage here, right? So given we have a bit of a range advantage, this is a spot where we can bet frequently, but against the vast majority of players, I'm definitely going to be checking. Whenever you are betting frequently, by the way, you're often using a small size. Like $5. Like, you don't want to go too big because we're essentially saying my opponent is in such bad shape that they can't do anything to win in this spot. I can just basically get a little bit of money in here, and they're basically always putting it in poorly. Anyway, just check. Let it go check. I'm telling you, this is going to make your life way easier because now when it goes check, you just never have to play a big pot in this scenario. If you bet here and get raised, it is rough. Okay? All right, check. Opponent bets turn. Obviously call. If you bet and get check raised, what do you do? Yeah, that's the thing you don't want to have happen. You really don't want to bet and get check raised whenever you have a very clear marginal made hand. All right, turn. Opponent bets. Easy call. You don't want to raise here because if you raise, your opponent's going to play very, very well against you, right? They're going to continue with draws and kings, most of which have us in marginal shape. So easy call. Turns of 4 spades. Opponent bets again. How do you feel about this? Take a second. Think about it. If the opponent checked on the turn, we would definitely start value betting then, most likely. Because then we can get called pretty, like really, really frequently. The other guy could have trips. The other guy could have quads. Should we fold because he could have 4 of a kind? No. It's almost impossible to have those hands. Just because someone could have something doesn't mean that they have it. We're not playing against magicians. We're playing against poker players. All right. This is a very, very easy call in general. We did not check behind on this turn to fold to a river bet. This is a spot where we have the easiest call you could possibly imagine. You have to understand, when we check the flop and just call the turn, we are representing, going back to representing, we have a lot of marginal made hands that a lot of people will attempt to bluff us off of. And really, I'm going to call pretty much any bet size in this spot. Like, I'm going to call 30, 40, 50. It doesn't matter. In this scenario, there's so many busted draws and just nonsense like queen high, jack high, 6 high that the opponent could have that we need to go for a very, very easy call in this scenario. So you have to realize what a lot of people do wrong, they check the flop with hands like this, like pocket queens and worse, call a turn bet with all of it, and then fold all of it to a river bet. And then they just light all of their money on fire. You have to realize you cannot fold too often in this scenario. Okay? Easy call. Opponent has queen 7 of diamonds. You may say, what? Queen 7 of diamonds? How in the world do they have queen 7 of diamonds? Well, we check the flop. When you check the flop, you induce bluffs. This opponent thought we had some sort of marginal hand and decided to do something about it. He decided to run a bluff because we looked weak. Okay? The opponent thought we was weak. They went for it. And it epically failed. Okay, next hand. King 7 suited. This player raises. 3-bet or you can call, you can fold, you can do whatever you want here, really. This is one of these neat scenarios where depends on the opponent's strategy, but if they're normal-ish, I'd probably just put in the 3-bet. We do get called. You may say, 3-bet the king 7 suited. Yes, you want to be 3-betting with a very polarized range. Your best hands and your hands that are not quite good enough to call. And there's somewhere between like king 9, king 8, king 7 suited that are all hands that are acceptable to play. So anyway, I'm fine with this. If you don't have our charts, by the way, check them out at pokercoaching.com. In the tools section, we actually have an app on your phone you can download that has GTO charts as well, which is a lot of fun. You can go through and experiment with those. We're adding more charts all the time, so check that out. Here, this guy raises, we 3-bet, he calls. Any merit to calling in position? Alan, I literally just said you can play this hand any of the 3 ways. Do you fold to a 4-bet? Of course, we don't have anything. This is a bluff. When you 3-bet with a weak hand, the plan is to fold it to a 4-bet because we don't have anything. However, we're also playing aces, kings, queens, jacks, ace, king, ace, queen suited in the same way. Okay? So we are very well protected here. We're going to be very, very polarized, very, very balanced. Oops, what's happening here? John says raise to isolate. No, like the idea of I'm going to raise to try to isolate, that is not good thought process. We're raising because it is the most profitable option. We play our hands because playing the hands in this manner leads to the most profit. How do we know it leads to the most profit? We ran it through the supercomputers, and we also have loads and loads of data. Okay? Anyway, we 3-bet, we get called. Flop comes queen, 4, 2, 2 spades. This is good. Opponent checks. We're going to bet. This is a spot where you can bet very frequently using a small size. This is a scenario where we have a big range advantage and a big nut advantage because nobody has any nuts in this board. Besides, we have queens and the opponent may not. But in this scenario, you have to realize basically any queen is essentially the nuts. So we have lots of good queens and better in this scenario, and our range is just tighter and stronger. Our opponent has a lot of garbage. So this is a spot where we're going to go for the bet. Opponent does call. I can already tell you, I don't know what the turn's going to be, but we're going to be betting here on the turn pretty much every time. When you flop a flush draw with no showdown value, we're tripling. We're going to be triple barreling off in this scenario pretty much every time. Okay, get ready, buckle up. Turns to 10 of diamonds. They check, we bet. This is a pretty standard spot. You want to make sure you don't go too big in this scenario, because if you go too big, you may lose fold equity, right? Or you may lose fold equity on the river. You want to make sure whatever bet size you use right now on the turn leaves you room to bluff your opponent on the river. If you instead bet like 80 on the turn, then your opponent only has 80 remaining in their stack. Then they're going to have to call 80 into like 400, so they're going to call way more often. We want to make sure we don't go too big on the turn. Also, we want to make sure we don't go too small on the turn to the point that it essentially sets up stacks to be too deep on the river, because you want to make sure you can make a very solid, chunky all-in on the river. So anyway, there we go. Oh, and opponent just folds to make it easy on us. Yeah, nothing to see in that scenario, but this is a spot where I think a lot of people completely mess this hand up because they don't bet the turn. Like, why would you not bet the turn here? And like I said, we're betting every river in this scenario. It's important to realize that even on like a river queen is really bad for me, but we should still probably bluff this hand because I would like to bluff with ace queen, king queen, queen jack, and queen 10 if I have them, right? Okay, so this is a scenario where we are going to be barreling off. All right? Don't be afraid to barrel off. You need to have some triple barrel bluffs. Is this small stakes, itty bitty? This is 1-2 no limit Texas Hold'em live poker. These are exploits. These are strategies you can use to beat the players in the small stakes games who are not world-class poker opponents. Okay? So this is a spot where I would, like, if I had Jack 9 of diamonds or something, I would triple that as well. If I had Ace Jack of diamonds, probably don't need to bet that one. You have to realize whenever you bet and get raised, it's really bad here, right? So you want to sidestep scenarios where getting raised is really, really bad, right? Also notice if I bet bigger on this turn and got raised, I'd almost have to call it off, which would be terrible. Whereas here, we can bet and then still fold if he jams. What is a 3-bet? A 3-bet is the third pre-flop bet. Let me explain. The first bet is the big blind. This is a 1-bet. There's always a 1-bet in the pot. This raise here is a 2-bet. my re-raise is a 3-bet. So 1, 2, 3. Small blind doesn't count as bet. It's only half a bet. Half a bet, 1 bet, 2 bet, 3 bet. It's a stupid terminology that we took from this old antiquated game called Limit Hold'em. Limit Hold'em doesn't really exist anymore, and no one really plays it for any substantial money. But it's a re-raise, okay? A 3-bet is a re-raise. All right, let's take a look at King, Queen of Hearts. So remember how I just said you want to be 3-betting with a polarized strategy for the most part, with the best hands and with the hands that are not quite good enough to call? That does not necessarily apply from the small blind and the big blind. From the small blind and the big blind, we are going to be 3-betting much more linearly. That's because we're going to be out of position, and that's going to lead to our opponent generally calling us more often. And when you're out of position, you just want to have a stronger range than your opponent. It's very, very important. So this is a spot where we typically want to be 3-betting. And when we do 3-bet with a strong linear range from the small blind, we do still get to continuation bet frequently on lots of flops because we're going to just be substantially ahead of our opponent's range. When you do 3-bet from the small blind, you're usually going to want to make it about 3.5 to 4 times your opponent's raise. Whereas if you remember the previous hand, we made it 3 times the opponent's raise, right? And that's because in this scenario, we're in position. We don't really care if the opponent calls. Here, we're going to be out of position. We don't really mind if the opponent folds, right? Like if they just give us the pot, it's acceptable and fine, and we're happy with this. So this is a scenario where we're going to be 3-betting generally linearly. You're not sure we 3-bet linearly from the big blind. Take a look at the charts, Peter. It's going to be mostly reasonable hands. The bluffs, whenever you're 3-betting on the button, are substantially weaker than when you are 3-betting from the big blind. You still have some bluffs, but they're very, very, they're organized differently. Look at the charts, man. Look at the charts. When I say linearly, do I mean only the good hands? Yes, like a line. The best hands. We're taking the absolute best hands and re-raising them. So anyway, easy 3-bet. Why is your opponent raising to $8? Because he's a fish. He's playing 1-2 no limit, and he's raising huge. That's how a lot of players operate. Anyway, he calls. Flop comes. Ace, 6, 4, yuck. How do you play nothing on the flop when you have the range advantage and the nut advantage? Well, whenever you have the range advantage and the nut advantage, you should be betting frequently using a tiny size with everything. I know it feels gross to use a small bet here because you just think you're going to get called every time, but you're not. They are going to fold sometimes. And when they don't fold, notice in this scenario, we can pick up lots of various draws on the turn, mainly a heart, right? Also realize we have a lot of good aces in our range that are generally going to be better than our opponent's aces. So this is a spot where we are in fantastic shape with our whole range. So we essentially get to use every hand that's not an ace, call it as a bluff, right? So we do go for a small bet, $17. Opponent just releases, and that's fine. This is good. You may say, what in the world did the opponent fold here? If they don't have an ace, they're not going to like this scenario. Most people will call with hands like pairs, but if they don't have a pair, they're often going to fold too. Some people make the big error of raising very frequently with an ace in the opponent's shoes, which will result in me being able to easily get out of the way and not have to bluff on various turns and rivers. So this is a spot where we are definitely happy betting in this scenario. What does the opponent have? Yeah, we don't care. We're just betting. In this spot, we are playing against our opponent's range. What do they have? I know they have their range, right? And I know my range crushes the opponent's range. Why do we have the range and nut advantage here? Because we 3-bet with a strong linear range, and the opponent did not 4-bet. They're going to 4-bet with their best hands, which means when they call our 3-bet, they don't have aces and kings and queens and ace-king. But I do, right? How do we have the nut advantage here? We have aces and ace-king and ace-queen, and they don't. Also, I'd likely 3-bet even pocket sixes in this scenario. What would you call here in your opponent? We would call with 7s or 9s in the opponent's shoes. Yeah, we call with any pair here. You can't fold to a tiny flop bet in this scenario. It's a bad spot. You're going to under-realize your equity probably, but you got to stick around. Do we give up but we don't turn a draw? Yeah, probably. All right, let's take a look at one more hand. Pocket kings. We raise, get called. Opponent checks. We bet big. So, this is an interesting spot where on boards like this, we probably do want to be betting pretty frequently with our pocket kings on queen 7-4 type boards. So whenever we are in the scenario, if the opponent has any pair, they're not going to fold. If they have any draw, they're not going to fold. If they have any queen, they're not going to fold. Right? And therefore, we just want to bet and get more money in the pot. It's very different than on more uncoordinated boards. Like, say it was queen 7-2, then we'd probably just go for a smaller bet size. But this is a great scenario against most people in the smaller stakes games who just don't fold all that often if they have something, to value bet big and get money in the pot. Get money in the pot. Turns at 2. You may say, well, now I should bet small, or now I should check because I'm afraid. No. Just keep betting. This is an effective nut hand. We want to get all of our money in the pot. Woo, we go for a saucy overbet here. This is really big. You know, if you look at a GTO solver, it'll actually tell you that it likes this play because for the same reasons I just said, right? If the opponent has a queen, they're not going to fold. And if they have a draw, you don't really care if they fold, right? It's kind of neat that whenever you bet the flop big and they call you, they generally have something, right? So if they generally have something, that's going to be a queen that's not going to fold, or a draw that you don't care if it folds because it's drawing very live, right? So we do bet big, opponent calls, river's a 2. How do you feel about this spot? As Ryan says here, just bet 10 or 12 and they'll call the same range compared to if you bet 6 or 7. Yeah, there are a lot of spots like this where your sizing doesn't really impact your opponent's continuing strategy all that much. And a lot of players in the small stakes games aren't going to call a small bet with like very, very weak hands anyway. Should the turn bet size be the same as the flop? No, absolutely not. Why not? Why would you think you need to bet the same amount on the flop as on the turn? You want to get money in the pot. In No Limit Hold'em, we use exponential bet sizes. We bet bigger as the pot progresses for the most part. Now, there are certainly times where you should be using tiny bets, but not when the board's super draw heavy and the opponent clearly has something. When you're ahead and your opponent clearly has something and the board's draw heavy, you want to be betting big. If you're ahead and your opponent's drawing dead and they probably have nothing, then you want to bet tiny. Right? But that's not what we are here. Right here, when the opponent calls our flop bet, they must have something, right? Yeah, he could have pocket 2s. We're playing against a magician over here. They must have pocket 2s. So we should probably check behind, right? Let's just check, because we don't lose to the pocket 2s. Won't smart opponents learn what kind of hands you have based on your bet sizing? Yes, whenever I bet big on the turn, the opponent should know I'm either going to have a really good made hand or a draw with a lot of equity. And the neat thing is, you can turn your cards face up, on average. You can turn your whole range face up, and there's nothing your opponent can do about it. That is the power of fundamentally sound strategies. Whenever you have, in this scenario, I know what my range looks like. My range is good, strong top pairs and better, and premium draws. And I can announce that to the opponent. Sir, I'm betting here with only good, strong premium hands and good, strong premium draws. You feel like continuing? And you know what? They just lose. They're screwed. That's what happens in this scenario. I think a lot of people don't understand what I'm saying here is you need to play fundamentally sound strategies. All right. Easy all in this scenario. What if they raise or re-raise us? Well, this is a tough spot on this board, actually, because there are a lot of draws available. This is a very player-dependent spot on the flop and turn and river. I will say that against most people are call a little bit too much, and they don't raise nearly often enough. But depends on your opponent, right? You got to pay a little bit of attention. People keep saying bet 150% pot. We can't bet 150% pot. I guess you mean on the turn. Okay, yeah, on the turn we bet big. Anyway, this is a spot where we're going all in for sure. Easy all in. There are lots of busted draws. This is a spot where I don't even think I'm going to use a small bet size. Because, like, what would want to bet small here? Like, queen, jack, or queen 9 suited, maybe. It's such a tiny portion of my range that wants to bet small. Because in this scenario, I either have a like king, queen, or better type hand that's like pretty much the nuts, or I have nothing, right? Then I realize I do have maybe queen 10 and queen 9 suited, but it's such a tiny combination, it's a tiny number of hands. It's probably fine just to let those go check. Because like the opponent could easily have king, queen. Maybe they have ace, queen too. So anyway, easy all in. Opponent does call. Think we win or lose. Oh, this time we win. That's good. Rough spot for the opponent, actually. Like, I don't fault the opponent for calling here. They don't block the clubs. They don't block any of the straight draws. Tough spot. Notice, though, that by playing this way, we stacked our opponent. And if we played the other way, we would have bet small on the flop, bet medium on the turn, and bet big on the river, but we still would not have found ourselves all in. So I'm using slightly bigger bet sizes on the earlier betting rounds, right? Well, much bigger on the flop than most people use, much bigger on the turn than most people use. That allowed us to stack our opponent in this scenario. And clearly, that is very, 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 very good for us. Well, that's all the hands I have for you all today. Let me tell you about what I have going on. We have a Black Friday giveaway going on right now. Black Friday is coming up soon. Figure some of you could use some cash to go buy stuff. So check out pokercoaching.com/Black Friday giveaway right now to enter. It's free to enter, costs you $0. You might as well. pokercoaching.com/Black Friday giveaway. And also, if you like this webinar, first things first, click like, click subscribe. If you liked this, check out pokercoaching.com/pass for the next, well, today and the 19th and the 20th. You'll be able to go through every single thing we have available at Poker Coaching Premium for free. It'll cost you literally $0. It'll cost you $0 to go access every piece of content we have at Poker Coaching Premium. Why wouldn't you do it? It costs you literally nothing. You don't have to use a credit card, don't have to do any of that stuff. Just go there, pokercoaching.com/pass, sign up, and get in. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Good to get the basics drilled into your head. Indeed, my mic setup sounds much better today than usual. I'm in a different room. Can you tell? I'm in a different room. The page doesn't seem to exist. Oh boy, did they screw up on me? Did the page break? Let's see. That exists for me for sure. There it is. pokercoaching.com/Black Friday giveaway. Definitely exist. pokercoaching.com/pass. Definitely exist. Okay? So both of those pages seem to work. You never know. You never know if it's going to work or not. So everything's available for free. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Never mind, you cannot type. Indeed. You're going to find that most of the time, whenever something's not working for you, it's usually operator error and not the other person's fault. Did we tell you why we went to Vegas? Yes, we went and we played Poker After Dark. We played 2 games. One was a high-stakes cash game. Another one was a $5,000 buy and sit and go with me and all poker coaching coaches. We had James Romero, Matt Affleck, Faraz Jaka, Brad Owen, and Justin Saliba. So that was fun. This pass is awesome. I'm glad you enjoy this pass. We figured, call it we're getting to the holidays. Might as well give you some free access to the site. And, we're going to have a Black Friday sale coming up soon. So if you like the site, if you enjoy it, stick around. If some of you are still having errors, not sure why you're having errors. We just showed you that I could go to it. Go to support@pokercoaching.com. Send us an email, get in there, and do it. Can you download videos from Poker Coaching? No. When will the shows air? The shows will air in December on Poker Go and perhaps later on TV. Why does the player in the big blind always turn up a full house on the river against you? Well, Gareth, it's probably because you play in such a way it forces them to have a full house. Imagine you blast your opponent and essentially force them to have a very premium hand. Well, then they're going to show up with a premium hand, right? If you incentivize your opponent to only play premium hands against you by the river, probably because you're blasting them, then they're going to show up with good hands. How do you feel like gigantic preflop raises whenever people still call a garbage? Sure. Always exploit whatever your opponents do incorrectly. The right play is the one that leads to the most profit. Again, if people are having problems with the giveaway, email support@pokercoaching.com. Maybe refresh your cookies or something. I don't know. It's cached in my machine. I've literally never gone to the site. I just typed it in for the first time right now. All right. Good. Well, hope you enjoy the pass. I'm not going to take any more of your time today. Go to pokercoaching.com/pass right now and start studying something. If you are well, here, let me show you what to do. We're going to go to pokercoaching.com. I'm going to show you how to go through and explore the site real quick. Okay? Let's see. This is not the ideal size. I'm going to make this the ideal size. Give me just a second. I'm going to show you how to go through the site really quick, show you some cool stuff to do. All right. There you go. Here's the site. Put this right here. Turn this thing on so you know where to go get it. One minute. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Here's pokercoaching.com. We have new quizzes right here. We just released these today. Go through, click start, take some quizzes. You can see all the quizzes here. Classes. How to play as a 3-better on the flop. Turn donk betting. ICM spots, analyzed by Faraz Jaka. All right there. Here we have upcoming webinars. Matt Affleck's actually having a webinar right now, so that's cool. We also have homework. I'll tell you not to worry about the homework if you're new to the site. If you check over here at the quizzes, you can see we have thousands of quizzes. Number 1065 just got posted. You can take all of these quizzes for the next 3 days. Go through, check it out. Go through all of them. Many pages of them, okay? Next, classes. Let me show you the classes real quick. Loads and loads of classes on all sorts of topics made by me and the other coaches. You can type in whatever you want. I don't know. Let's type in flop. Type in flop. It searches for various scenarios for the flop, right? Let's type in, I don't know. Let's see if turn brings up anything. Turn donk leading, turn continuation betting, turn probe strategy. Videos essentially on all sorts of topics relating to all sorts of topics. Let's look up mindset. Look, we have various mindset videos, okay? Various mindset videos by many of the best players. It's all there for you. Literally type in whatever you want right here. It'll bring up the answer. We made the classes section to essentially be the answer to, well, every poker question you could possibly have. The contest says it ends in 255 days. Great. Let's see. It ends in 7 days, it says. I don't know what stuff you guys are looking at, but, I mean, look, I went to the site. It literally works, no problem. One winner receives $1,000 cash. You also, if you sign up, you get an ebook for free. Okay? Clear your cookies or something, man. I don't know. Seems like your site's not working properly. All right. Next, what do we have? We have Play and Explains. What are Play and Explains? These are essentially private live streams. Okay? Like Faraz Jaka, winning a $2,600 satellite and grinding high-stakes action. 2 GG poker final tables and a 500 and 5,000 by Bert Steven the other day. We have Tristan Wade going through a $320 very deep run. As you can see, lots of these. And these videos are like very, very long, right? These videos are all 4, 5, 6, 7 hours long. These are lots and lots of content of the best players playing online live where people can ask them questions in real time. And the streams go live. They'll be in the upcoming content section, so you can watch them live and participate. Next, courses. Giant benefit of Poker Coaching Premium is access to all of these courses. Literally, whatever you want, you can search for it, and it'll come right up. Content by all sorts of people. Many great world-class players. Who have some content by Mike Sexton. Rest in peace. He had 2 webinars, one where he went through his win at WPT Montreal. Yeah, we have Dr. Tricia Cardner. We have some stuff by Fader Holtz. We have stuff by Zach Elwood, the Tells expert, Elliot Rowe. We have Bubble Play by Scott Clements. All sorts of good content in here. Tilt Workshop by Jared Tendler. This is all stuff we make for the Poker Coaching Premium members, and this is just what we have gotten together. All right, also we have the Cash Game Masterclass. This is a giant course that I made after each section there are quizzes. And we have a tournament course actually coming out soon, right around Black Friday, so that's coming out soon. So make sure you check out that. Again, you have access to all this for the next 2 days, so you might as well get in there. Do we have any charts? Why, yes, we do. Let me show you the challenges real quick. We have these challenges where basically we went through and hand-selected a series of content for all of you. So let's take a look at the 14-day cash game challenge real quick. Right here, day 1. Every day there's something for you to do. Go through this every day, study it, take the final exam, and you will be substantially better at poker. Let's take a look at the tools. Do we have cash game charts? Well, let's take a look at the GTO preflop charts. I think he asked for tournament charts. Here is this new program we've been working on. It's taking us forever. It's available on your app. What you do is you type in the number of blinds you have. Let's say we have, 80. Let's say our position is the low jack seat. Let's say the action is facing a raise, or when no one raises, this is what we should play. We should raise all these hands, fold all the other ones, right? Sorry for the loud sirens out here. What about versus a raise? Well, now we have to type in the opponent's position, which is, let's say, under the gun +1, or under the gun. And now this shows how we should play every single hand in our range. 3-bet aces and kings every time, 3-bet queens 56, call 44, fold all these hands, etc. Okay? We could also do versus, versus a 3-bet from the opponent's position. Let's say the cutoff 3-bet us. What do? Here's how we proceed. 4-bet the hands in red, call hands in green, fold hands in blue, right? This is just all available for Poker Coaching members. They're actually, there's another site that has something very similar to this. They charge $500 per month for this. This is just included in the Poker Coaching Premium membership. Like I said, we have all sorts of stack sizes here. Okay? Also, we have the downloadable charts if you want these. These are available for all members. Like, let's just take a look at 6 max implementable GTO charts. Here, essentially, we took the solver images and combined them to be implementable, to where everything is used at 100% frequency. Okay? So anyway, as you can see, here are all the charts for these. 6-handed charts, if you're playing like 6-handed cash games or something like that online, use them. Assuming it's not against the rules of your site. We also have a push-fold app. Push-fold app is... where is it? It's this program here. Again, this is also available on your phone. Essentially, type in the number of blinds you have, or what your position. Let's say we're in the cutoff seat. Let's say we have 8 big blinds. Let's say there's a big blind ante in play. If they fold to us in the cutoff, we go all in with this hand. And now, let's say we fold. Let's say we get 9-4 offsuit and we fold. You click fold, and then it moves you to the next hand. That way you don't have to keep going back and referencing the charts over and over again. This actually works really great for live poker, because you can just like have the phone up, look at the chart before you play, put the chart down, play the hand, pick it up, click next, play it again. Let's say this hand we get king jack offsuit, we go all in and they all fold. Now we click push. That means we pushed, we go up to 10 big blinds, we're in the low jack seat, right? And you can just keep going on and around like this. And if you go through the blinds, you'll see your stack gets shallower and shallower. Let's say you steal a few times, your stack goes up, right? Also, we have calling ranges down here. Although you got to be careful with the calling ranges, because these assume your opponents are shoving perfectly, and it assumes there's no payout implications. What level account can see this? This is actually free. This is just in the Poker Coaching app. Go to search Poker Coaching in the App Store, iTunes, Android app stores, and it is completely free. All this is available for the next few days, though, for all members. We actually, if you see here, we have, it lists which level has access to each of these things. Like the GTO preflop charts that we're continuously adding to, that is a premium product. Downloadable preflop charts are for standard members. Push-fold charts are for free. We have the range analyzer for free. The PKO bounty calculator, standard membership. My heads-up display, free. We have private coaching. You can request private coaching. Anyway, all of that is here. We have a community tab, right? You can apply for backing. We give backing to our students every once in a while. You can join the Discord. We have a great study group ran by Louis Philippe. He runs a study group Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Check that out. We also have a blog where we post articles and other content. We have a forum where you can ask questions about your hands. Check out the YouTube channel, all of that. So anyway, all this is available for you. It's completely free. It's costs you literally $0 for the next 3 days. So check it out, pokercoaching.com/pass. You hate that I'm making everyone else better. LOL. Yeah, well, such is life, I suppose. Costs you $0. Check it out, pokercoaching.com/pass. Also, remember to get in the giveaway. Like I said, if either of these links are not working for you for whatever reason, try to clear your cookies or whatnot, and try it again. But if it doesn't work for some reason, send us an email, support@pokercoaching.com. I want to be sure that you make the most out of these offerings I have for you. Okay? Is there a good way to commit charts to memory? Reference them over and over and over and over and over and over and over. You're going to find that most of them are actually pretty easy to remember, but some of them get difficult, like the small blind charts, right? I get the small blind charts are a little bit murky. Like, look at this, right? This is a bit of a mess, but you'll eventually realize, right? These hands, you're limp raising your best hands, right? Plus some bluffs. I'm not going to go through it. You can figure this out. But essentially, you want to look for patterns, right? You want to be looking for patterns, and the patterns will typically make sense. Also, someone mentioned earlier, from the big blind, are you really 3-betting linearly? Yes. Look, here's a linear chart here. Big blind versus cutoff. You see we're 3-betting just a lot of the best hands. Big blind versus button, 3-betting a lot of the best hands. Big blind versus hijack, 3-betting a lot of the best hands. Okay? Small blind versus cutoff, you see we're 3-betting everything we're going to play. We don't call anything. Kind of neat to see, right? No flat calling range in the small blind. Marianne says that you thought you'd never remember the charts, but after a few months, less and less looking, you just start to know it, right? Learn how to verbally articulate the charts. Yeah. Whatever learning method works for you, do it. Get in there and make it happen. What's happening here? Huh. Oh, I see what's happening here. I removed my PowerPoint. Should probably add this PowerPoint back on. Give me just a second so you can see where to go for the pass. Again, look, I try to do my best to make all of this stuff available for all of you. I want you to be able to learn poker, study poker, improve your skills. And I realize poker training sites are, somewhat costly. Poker Coaching Premium charges, I think it's $2 a day if you sign up for the most expensive membership. And I realize most people don't want to spend $2 a day to get good at poker. To be fair, it's going to sound a little bit bad. If you want to play poker at any sort of reasonable level, you should be spending money getting good. Learn from the knowledge that other people have spent their lifetimes learning. And that's what we have available for you at pokercoaching.com. Again, here's the giveaway. We're giving away $1,000. Might as well try to collect a free $1,000 plus 6 months of Poker Coaching Premium. So check that out, pokercoaching.com/Black Friday. Do we have courses on deep stack cash games? Yes. I'm telling you, when you go to the courses section, we have literally loads of courses on cash games, tournaments, all sorts of stuff. How to play in wild games, how to beat loose cash games, right? Beating 5-10 no-limit hold'em, combating limpers, reviewing deep hands from Live at the Bike, right? Like, we have all sorts of stuff here. It's all over the place. How to beat 6-max online cash games. Anyway. Oh, I'm showing you this on my screen and you all can't see it. I'm such a fish. Anyway, check it out. Go to the site, check it out. You don't have to ask me questions. It's free to go look. Go to pokercoaching.com/pass and get in there. Go to pokercoaching.com/pass right now. You might as well. If you enjoyed this, click like, click subscribe. I would appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed today. Enjoy yourself. Make the most of your time. I realize that time is limited, and don't squander it. It's what it amounts to. If you want to get good at poker, study poker and get good at it. And I have done my absolute best to give you all the resources you could possibly need at pokercoaching.com. And for the next few days, you can get in there until November 20th completely for free. Check it out, pokercoaching.com/pass. Good luck in your games. Have a great time. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you later.